everybody. I'd like to call the Parks, Property, and Streets Committee meeting to order today, Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 2:30 p.m. Julie, would you mind taking roll call?
Sure. Louise Hausen?
Here.
Lily Orozco? Mike Laskowitz?
Here.
Denise Berto? Here. And Jerry Ahrens?
Here.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
Before you do that, I just have, we do want to pull item 5B off. Mm-hmm. And then if we can, when we're done with the administration building, there's 3 items that the Historic Society is here for, and they do have a meeting after this.
Okay.
So if we could move D, E, and H up after the admin building conversation.
Okay. And Peninsula Century Fall Challenge will go to December.
Right.
Okay. Okay, great. Could I have a motion to approve today's agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second. Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor. I always forget that.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. We have the minutes from the October 7th, 2024 regular meeting. Do we have any edits or changes for that agenda? Sorry, for those minutes? From anyone?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, do we have any comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public in attendance, or do we have any correspondence?
There was nothing that we received in writing.
Anybody out there? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, we have none. We have a couple people that are arriving, but I think we're good. Okay. Hi, John and Aaron. Okay. So next up, we have discussion and action items. So the first item will be item 5A, Administration, Building, and Design Review. And we have Mike, thank you for making the trip, from McMahon here to help us with questions. So Julie, take it away.
Sure. So in the packet, you'll see why this is back in front of you. So we do have some redesigns for you to look at. 2 of them were basically just making the entire building smaller. Instead of having a long building, we kind of flipped the wings to the back, got rid of the atrium, and have those for you to review, and Mike will walk you through those. And then we also have a third one. I did hear from some board members, they still liked the atrium, they wanted it. So I asked Mike, and Denise had stopped in one day too when we were reviewing and gave me some thoughts on that. So I did have Mike redesign it with some thoughts, and then keeping that atrium but making it smaller. So we have in the packet, we have the original design, the 2 without an atrium, and then 1 with the smaller atrium. So Mike, if you could just walk us through each of those plans, we'd appreciate it.
Mike, if you could just tell us whether we're looking at, I don't know if you know if it's A, B, or C.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the lower
Yeah.
right-hand corner, I put A.
Great, perfect. Thank you.
It did get a little confusing after a while, so.
Okay.
So we'll start A.
We're starting with A? Okay. Makes sense,
This was the
right?
original design, the original program, as it sits on Woodcrest Road. The design theory was make it look farmhouse. Okay. So we put a 2-story space, board wing, and admin wing. Okay. Parking out front, parking in the back. This is what the floor plan looked like. You come in the front door, there'd be a porch, which gives it the farmhouse look. Come through a vestibule, 2 choices, either the admin wing, board space, little breakout room, and the sprinkler, AV and storage, someplace to put the chairs in for Park gets developed to the east. Admin wing, now, as we go through this, these spaces don't change too terribly much. They just change location, they rotate a little bit here. But we have a conference room, code enforcement, future office, finance, kitchen galley for the administrative employees, copy storage, waiting area, admin, village clerk, utility clerk, election storage, admin mechanical, and village administrator. A space out the back for public space, break space, secondary entrance for the employees to come in so they don't have to walk through the front door. And then when you approach the admin windows, the service windows will look something similar to this, sliding windows, pay your water bill, pay your parking ticket. This square footage was 9,521 total, that's 7,789 building proper, and 1,506 roughly for the porch. So what does the building look like? That was the first look at it. This would be the street view, back view, north and south, and views. And basically a schematic of how it will be constructed. The big thing here to keep in mind as we're walking through this is that circulation, that center spine, two-story space is truly 20 foot tall, so you'd walk into a room, something similar to this, really big and open. This would require steel framing for the height. The rest of the building would be built out of wood. Trying to stay on the economical side of construction materials. Move on to option B. This would be the first redesign.
Excuse me, Mike, so option A and final draft are the same thing, the 9,500 square feet?
Yes, sir. Let's try this again. Site plan. Can you guys see this? Site plan, same location, smaller building, 1,084 square feet by taking that atrium out. Parking's a little bit reconfigured. We still have access to the barn, anything future to the south, as you can see here.
I didn't hear you. What's the square footage of this building?
The square footage
8437 with the porch.
that can be found on the floor plan upper left-hand corner. It's breakdown room. So this floor plan takes the wings, basically folds them one on top of one another. We still have the entrance area here, providing enough room for circulation. And also, two people to pass by, should there be someone at a window or someone in a wheelchair or anything else like that. There's extra elbow room through here in front of the utility clerk, village clerk, and admin. Admin has a clear view of the front door here. Bathrooms are kind of centered. We did set the doors back so you're not looking right out the restroom doors as you first come in. Village chambers, mechanical sprinkler, boardroom, administrator, finance, the same functions as we had before. A little bit moved around here as we put the cabinet for the staff, towards the back door for rear entry from the back parking lot, a finance office, future code, conference, still moving the waiting area there. Okay. A little bit smaller covered porch, we still keep that.
And in this case, Mike, the way the parking is configured, you don't have direct access to the front of the building, and there's no ability to pass through for, going from the front to the back if there was different development, right?
Correct.
Parking is all kind of.
You would park here, walk underneath the covered entry, and come in through this larger triangle here is the front door. Like a bear
And there's not really a good public back entrance at all. It's just a single entrance from the front.
Correct.
But you added a waiting room. That's good. We didn't have a waiting area in the other, in the other floor plans.
That's kind of what the atrium is, right? Though, or-
Yeah, that's in A, the first one.
Right, I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, clearly, there's a lot of room
Yeah,
for
so
waiting.
in
But there's
this
a
one
waiting
here-
area here, and then there's also an area that looks like it's, read it, for, there's also another waiting area.
Correct. In the first design, we have an actual waiting area within. I guess look at it like a secure area. Once you cross this door, you're now in the admin area. This is kind of hard to see, but this area here is kind of a locked, secure area. The other
I see
one,
it.
to Louise's point, the waiting area is on the hallway.
And
So-
then in a secure waiting area inside as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of a hallway. Yeah.
Yeah, it just said waiting, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's smaller than the other one, and it doesn't have direct access to the counters.
Right. What we tried to do with this floor plan was reconfigure and trim the fat a little bit.
Sure.
Do we really need to have 8, 9, 10 foot wide waiting area, or could they wait on the hallway, but still be able to meet with staff in the conference room, secured from the rest of the admin staff?
Okay.
So option B, a little bit more compact, with a simpler roof. It's basically kind of like a ranch house with really steep. It's a rectangle with really steep roof on it. We did put some non-functional dormers on there to kind of break up the mass of it. Also on the back. This larger dormer signifies this is the main entrance. The smaller one in the front, this I'm looking on the west exterior elevation, gives a little bit of balance here. Same thing on the back here. Keeping some of the design elements on the end of the building. Okay. Now this one has a couple different roofs on it. So this is option 1. Okay, I'll put this down here. Option 2 has a larger front entryway, more pronounced. Same concept on the back.
The back's are slightly different though than option 2.
Correct.
The back's different.
What I'm getting at with that though is that the extra dormer here.
Yeah, it's the same.
So, and again, there, Louise, is that the front, the large triangle in the front, is
Smaller.
also replicated on the back.
Yeah.
And Mike, could you have cost estimates for the difference there? Between A and B, or option 1 and 2 for B?
Yep. That's the big reveal at the end.
Oh, okay. I'll wait and patiently.
Building sections through option 1 and option 2. Again, steel is now gone. We're a single story. We're 12 foot to the top plate of the building. Everything's wood truss above. So we're going to get those forms out of just trusses on top of one another rather than build a big clear story space that you have to heat and everything else like that. Then we have option B, number 2, which is the larger roof on it, I guess, if that can be term. We did change the roof a bit shape over here. Yeah, the larger truss on it. Okay. Then move on to option C. Option C. Similar to option B. However, this has a center corridor, atrium, you want to call it that. One thing of clarification, the center hallway has a ceiling of about 9 or 10 feet, which is wide for circulation.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
The central corridor, what was termed as atrium in the first option, only has about a 9 or 10 foot ceiling in it now.
Okay.
It's just a wide corridor for circulation. Again, covered porch. No real changes throughout the action. Central corridor. Actually, I take that back. Now you're being fed from the hallway here. There's no waiting area in front. Building chambers, AV storage, boardroom. Okay. There's about a couple 100 square foot difference between B and C.
So with the reconfiguration on the pass-through, would the parking for C look more like the parking for final draft?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Now that we've got a walk through the middle. Go back to this. These two are pretty similar. We didn't do a site plan for C, but to your point, we'd have a centralized door here. We'd pull this parking down a little further.
Well, the parking might look more like option A's parking then, where you could have some up front, some up back.
If that's the desire, yeah.
And was there a reason, like for cost, that you tilted the parking like that to consolidate it off the corner? Or?
I believe there's a statute or an ordinance
Yeah.
that says no parking out front, right?
Right, so the first plan, where it showed parking in front,
Would not have met our ordinance?
it did not meet code, but we did have it that way for ADA access, but technically, you're not supposed to have the parking in front, so.
Option C, we went with the larger triangular roof over the front door. So this is basically a change of floor plan with the center hallway.
So C kind of combines, all of them together. So you have that, what was the former atrium, so you have that same space, just lower ceiling. And then you have it rectangular with reducing the size of your storage areas, your mechanical areas, but making sure you kept the same functions in there. And then, yeah, so C is just kind of everything put together. So,
And a little smaller and doesn't need the steel, right?
Correct.
right.
Yep. Now, the square footage is 9521, 8437, 8285. These two are within 200 square feet of each other, all depending upon how you do your takeoffs and that. This design was 3.4 million.
Which one is it?
This is option A.
That was the original design.
That was the original design, correct?
3.4,
Correct.
budget's 3 million.
3.4 total without the underground, the water and sewer, the $200,000.
Without the 200.
I'm sorry, say again?
3.4 without the 200 to bring sewer and water out there?
That's included in that.
So
So it's
3.2,
3.2.
not 3. Okay.
This design, we estimated 3.1, subtract 200,000.
Are you on B? Okay.
On B. C would be similar.
And those are both 2.9, because they don't include that 200,000 that should have been
Gotcha.
run to the
I
property
think this one's more
before.
like 2.8, 2.9, yeah, I think you're right, I'm sorry.
If they're both 3.1, yeah. So
That
question,
that 3.1 does include the in-floor heat, the entire building. Just for educational purposes, that's about $86,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
About $10 a square foot to put it
in-floor heat,
in, in-floor heat.
we asked for that?
I did,
Denise did.
Why?
because it's efficient.
It's more efficient than another way of heating it?
Yeah.
Okay, as long as it's more efficient.
It costs a little more upfront, but in the long haul, and then especially if we were talking about polished or sealed cement in the corridor, in the mechanical or whatever, in the winter, and floor heat dries the floors.
So what kind of, is this going to be on a crawl, a slab, what is it?
It's going to be on a slab with a 4-foot frost wall, so it's going to be just like anything doesn't have a basement.
Okay, so versus this is in floor versus what would we have?
Forced air.
Gas
So
forced air.
Everything will be coming down.
Down,
Heat's
okay.
rising up from the concrete.
Okay, so we don't really have a means of comparison, but if it's 86 grand up front, when does it pay for itself?
I think first 5 to 7 years.
So you guys, we don't want to get too far into the weeds
I
on
gotcha.
that,
Okay.
because we're not in the construction
I
drawing
understand. Yeah, I
phase.
just am curious
Just
about
so we
it.
don't,
Well, I'll say it a big one. I mean, the good news is option C is over 1,000 square feet smaller.
And so is B, yeah.
They're both, yeah, about the same.
But what I'm surprised is that the cost is not more substantially different. You only have a $100,000 cost difference for saving, what, 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet?
Right, because the bigger cost is taking that steel out of that second, out of that clear story.
Say it again? Sorry.
The cost savings, a good chunk of that is taking the steel out of that second story, or that clear story.
Okay.
It's about $350 to $360 a square foot,
Yeah.
okay?
Uh-huh.
So $1,000 is, just doing math real quick here, 36,000 if you go by square foot, or am I wrong?
360.
360, thank you, at the decimal point around spot.
Yeah, per square foot right now, it's all in 385, but that, you know what, I was using 3 million, so that's not fair, so.
But with that being said, we want to take a look at the design here, which one of the three you would prefer.
I have a question, actually, B versus C. So when you look at the, I'm looking at the west side, so going in the front door, right? So we've got covered porches. Tell me why, we have two choices, and I was trying to, and honestly, I don't have a preference either way, but in B, the entrance area is much deeper and larger than in C. And I'm wondering why you made that design choice, not being an architect. So you can see that the width of those areas are similar. One's a little bit, maybe not quite as long, but the depth, one is 10 feet and the other is, my eyes are just a disaster, but I think the other is 18 feet.
Well, you wanted to offset the building.
Right.
I gotcha, but I mean, I just wondered why one was that much deeper, that's all.
Okay. I believe, unfortunately, there's not a dimension on this one here. I believe it's about 8 feet there.
8 feet where, I'm sorry?
It should be 8 foot here.
The one in front of the admin is 10, and the one in front of the meeting room is 16.
I mean inside, I don't mean the covered porch. I mean, when you walk in on the left side of the building.
Right here, Mike?
Oh, down here, yes, got it.
One, we have 10 feet,
Yep.
right? And the other, we have 18 feet.
Well, that's because you have all the waiting room in front of admin, village clerk, and utility clerk. So you have that whole corridor there.
I just wondered from Mike's point of view, why he did that design.
Because we have a hallway through the middle.
Gotcha. So you don't need as much room, is that what you were thinking?
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So the costs again, because I got a little confused when you start talking about sewer and heat and stuff, is all things being equal, 3.2, 2.9, 2.9?
No, this is, okay, let's back up.
Yeah, that's what.
3.4
But that includes
Minus.
200?
minus 200.
So it's 3.2.
3.2.
But all of them would take 200 for sewer, right?
Yes.
So we can just,
It depends where, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, depends on which bucket you want to take the funds out. Okay, right? This is 3.1 minus 200,000.
okay.
If I'm doing the math right.
Correct,
you know,
yep.
please.
Yep, so it's 2.9.
Yep.
So that's back to that 1,000-something square foot of extra steel, that's 30 whatever, that gives you 300-ish thousand difference between them.
These two are going to be very, very similar in price.
And even option 1 versus 2.
Correct,
varies.
because the square footage isn't changing. The big thing is, this clear story is gone.
Mhm.
Yep.
So we're still going to be there. Square foot price is the square foot price.
Well, wait, the square foot at the 3.1 is what, like 336? And the square foot on option C is 374. So the square foot price is going up. with the smaller building?
I had 366 for the first one, then I had 360.
So what number are you using for the square foot? You're using 9521, and then what are you dividing by, the 3.4? By what?
By the 3.4 million divided by 9521.
Okay. I mean, I don't know why either the 200,000's in or it's out.
Yeah, and the other two,
taxpayers
you
are still
subtracted
paying
it.
for the big number.
That's why I think he's confused, that's all.
The square foot number is coming from the base price,
Yep.
3.4, 3.1. I mentioned the 200,000 as a consideration.
But the square foot cost is going up as the building gets smaller.
By $2.
No, that can't be. I'll
Mike,
do the math.
I think you're both right. I think that you're calculating it on 3.4, which includes 200 grand for infrastructure, right?
I'm taking, well, let's
Let's
just,
look at A. A is 3.4 million, is that what you have?
okay, so we're going to use the 3.4, the 3.1. Those are the two numbers you want us to divide.
That's not apples to apples. You would use 3.4 and 3.3. 3.4 is not apples to apples with the 3.1.
And I also caution you to doing a per square foot cost, because that very first one, you have areas that are open storage areas, and then and on the revised plan, you're having fewer of those areas.
Here's what I would do. I would take the 200 grand out of all of it, Mike. So A is 3.2. B is 2.9, and C is 2.9. That the 200 grand is, I mean, we got to pay it, but it's not part of the square footage, let's put it. I know it's weird, but that. In order for it to be, you're comparing like numbers, that's what you need to do.
So it's 350 a square foot for for option C, if we use the 3.3, right? That's what you said? Or
2.9.
Or the 2.9. Excuse me, 2.9, it's 350. And then we're using 3.2?
Yes, for option A.
Divided by 9521. So it's definitely going up per square foot as the building gets smaller.
It's 25 bucks a square
For our
foot.
opinion of probable cost, yes.
Yeah.
And why is that?
That's what we estimated it on. The true cost of this building will be known when it goes out for bid, depending upon bidding climate, interest rates, all that other stuff. This is just our opinion based off of RS means and previous construction projects.
I mean, we had a listening session with the community. You listened in, didn't you? What did you think of that? I mean, there were some pretty strong messages.
I don't think that's Mike's concern. I'm sorry. I don't think we should put you under the gun like that.
Okay, well then I'll say it. Our listening session, the message from the community was 8,000 square feet for a village hall was a little extravagant, and that they were sensitive to the needs of our staff to have a safe working environment, but they thought we were going way out of bounds with a building this large with this much cost. That's what I heard.
So I thought we were here today because the board signed a new contract with Mike
You're correct.
and actually came up with two options, not
Right.
just one, for us to
Right.
choose. And we need to make a decision on what we would like to move forward to the board. The $3 million was put in at the public hearing into the CIP. And so that's our task today, is to pick A, B, or C.
And then we recommend that back to the board and they make a final.
Right. The board will see the original design, and then they'll see our choice for design, a redesign. So Julie, my question to you is from a design, you're working in the building. No one here is going to work in the building. People here are going to visit the building. So in looking at design B and C, do you, from a work perspective, and because the interior of the offices have been rearranged a bit, and I'm wondering if you have any comments or input on that?
I'll be honest with you, I prefer C. The staff is more concentrated, so we can hear each other, flow a little better, and the public can come in from the back and the side.
Okay.
Those are and the fact that I like where the restrooms are. I like when you're not walking in, you're seeing restrooms right away. So those were my big takeaways on the design.
Yeah. I did notice that in B, your office is pretty far away from your staff. And that, not that, it's not like, I don't think that's a huge concern, but does seem to be in a better location.
I agree with you,
See.
Louise. That was on that from day one in the facility plan. I was always back there
Oh.
because they were trying to make sure staff had the easiest access to the files and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But I do prefer to be where I can hear the conversations and see the people that are coming in.
Uh-huh.
Oftentimes, I can hear them talking and I'm yelling out to them, tell them this, or no, we passed that, or whatever. So
I think that's valid.
yeah, so for me, C is the better plan.
Yeah. And I don't love walking in and seeing restrooms, to tell you the truth.
I was going to say
That was-
don't like about the.
When I saw that, I'm like, no, there has to be something better.
I feel like we have a little corridor there.
And I think, we can't have the parking in the front. I really like having front and back entrance, especially if the bulk of the parking is going to be.
Much easier. Mobility access.
And I think the other thing that I had gotten a copy of this the day that I popped into the office or something else, and we didn't care, we were talking about it. And I made a copy and I cut out all the rooms, and I did the same thing like we did with the sports complex, and I tried to rearrange them, took a picture, sent it to Julie. Because I didn't think, Mike was charged with the task, and he did that, but I didn't think, and I loved the outside of the building on B when he had done that. I thought it was fabulous, but I just didn't think the offices flowed or functioned well. And for something that people are going to be working on it for decades, I love C.
I do want to say, just so everybody thinks this isn't Mike's idea, I met with Mike, and so it's not like Mike came up with B like that. It was me working with Mike, sitting there, asking him to move stuff around. My concern was the cost, the comments that were made, so I asked him, Mike, can we do this? Mike, maybe the restrooms. I was trying to get it as low cost and compact as possible. So that's why he drew it the way he did on B. And then with C, yeah, Denise had some ideas, but I didn't like all of them. So I asked Mike to make some other changes on there. There was a storage room, there was just some minor tweaks that, I had Mike make to that one too, so.
The central corridor is 18 feet in Design C, is that right?
Yes.
It looks like it. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. The other thing, this is a weird question, but in C, this is so weird, but where the covered porches, there's like little dots, and then in B, there's no dots.
Because the little dots are a hatch pattern for concrete.
Got it. All right, so there would still be concrete it's going to be concrete no matter what.
And it would not be stamped, Eric.
Oh, one stamped and one isn't.
No, the only one that's stamped is this one here. And Eric had some valid points on this one, so I
The
didn't.
only one that's stamped is,
A.
yeah, because that's the back patio.
Yep.
Right, because it'd be hard for you guys for removal and all that stuff. Yeah, okay. All right, so the little dots are stamped.
No, the little
They're
dots are
not
just
stamped.
Just a representation of
Got it.
concrete.
Okay, but that comes with the design, the
Yep.
specs when
Yep.
we, okay,
Construction drawings.
okay. Well, what's more expensive, stamped, not stamped?
Not stamped.
Okay.
So B and C are the same, Louise, it's just the way it's drawn. I think,
Okay,
doing one at the last minute, they probably
Okay.
just put the little graphic on
that's
it.
fine, I just didn't know if it was different.
No,
Gotcha.
they're the same.
Okay,
Both B and C include the in-ground heating costs, but A didn't?
Correct.
Okay.
all right, so they do
So
include
that
that.
expands the
Okay.
cost delta a little bit more.
Yeah, that
It's
86,000.
more like 400,000 difference between them.
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
And there's no concrete in the back with access to the parking lot?
Just the sidewalk.
Okay, the sidewalk's just not drawn.
Sidewalks on the site plan on the first page.
Okay.
Eric, anything on the exterior or anything inside or anything that you have comments about?
I don't know if we're fine tuning the parking lot on C, but those planting locations, it would be really helpful to my staff if we can move those to the outside of the parking lot. So I can just kind of sweep around with the plow truck, and then when I have to go in between those, I can just push that snow right into the grass without having, too big of an inconvenience.
Sure.
So just so everybody's benefited.
By code, we have to have interior. Correct, Julie?
Yeah, you have to have islands per code. The code doesn't allow you to have a just spans of concrete, asphalt. We have to have, the code requires planting islands within the parking lot.
Does the code require where those islands are placed in the parking lot?
Yes, it's every so many feet, or I'd have to look at it, but
Are they in the design?
Well, if we can maximize the most to the outside, that would be the helpful.
yeah, and I think that'd be something we'd look at when we get to that civil site design phase. I think those are valid points, Eric, to see, at least get as much as we can.
Yeah.
Sure,
I
yeah.
mean, definitely you have input on where curb goes, so you can push the
Right.
snow right off onto the grass like you were saying, so. That's really good input. Next piece.
Sure.
Do we need to make a decision on exterior? Because we have two options, correct?
Correct.
Does C have two options?
No, C had the singular option.
Okay. You said there were two options.
Yeah, on B it was.
I meant, sorry, so if it's C, it's C, got it. I mean, that's where I'm leaning, but.
B have two options.
So Denise, I know that this was particularly important to you. What do you think of the exterior of C?
Love it.
Make sure you write that down. Okay,
Because C is really B option two.
Correct.
What is the material on the exterior?
or it could
Exterior is
be,
board in the back, and the hardy plank siding is cement board.
what are you looking for, the exterior of C?
No, I'm looking for the exterior option one
Oh, for one?
of B. Yeah, the smaller gables on it.
That's okay. I mean, we have it in the packet. I don't know which one.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, I will move to approve option C, interior and exterior for the administration building, and to move to the village board for approval. Is that how it should be written?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Julie, do you want to keep these cards?
I was just going to ask Mike if I could keep them for the board meeting, and then we can give them back to you after that.
So for the board meeting, would we include one of the original and then this, huh?
Yeah, I think for the board meeting, we'd include everything so they can see the thought process we went to, so we're not getting in this, well, why don't you do this, why don't you do that?
Okay.
They can see we've already thought of that,
Okay.
and they can see the effort that was put in and why.
Okay.
Okay, we're just doing them all.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And then this one was going to have one displayed at the board meeting.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank
much, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the trip. Okay, sorry, my turn again, right? Here we go. Item D. I'm sorry, we have pulled 5B. We are now on to 5D, like David, Chris Kindle Market buses.
Well, I'll start with that, I guess.
All right, you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want.
Sure, so I'm aware that Chris Kindle Market was working with SBA to use the bus and to develop a schedule. And I had told them that I was going to see if the Parks Committee was willing to waive the cost of that to the Historic Society. Pardon me? I don't know the cost,
I can figure it out.
it's the gas, Lily, and then the drivers. And if you're looking $25 to $27 an hour for the driver, and then the gas. So they are still trying to get the event to keep growing. So, and last year I know they reported they did not have very much of a profit. So it was one way if we could donate that to this event, it would help them increase their profits. And just to be clear, as staff, I wouldn't support this for a private event, but they are a sister organization to us. We do a lot with the Historic Society. So to me, it was worth at least bringing forward and seeing if the committee would support that. And I did do that. They did not ask. It's not like they said, hey, will you do this? I said, you know what, I think we should ask the committee if they're willing to waive this.
Sure, so now you're going to make me look bad when I'm not in favor of it.
Well, let me just give you some dollars and cents for it. Let me give, she asked a question, so I think that the salaries will probably run around $1,800. About, $1,200 to $1,500, depends on who's driving, because they make different salaries. So if it's every shift, there's 3 shifts every day, times 3 days. I'm willing to drive one of the shifts, that would make it cheaper. I haven't driven my new bus yet, so I'm happy to do that.
We're still waiting for the tour around Sister Bay, remember the intersection?
I'll give you the tour if you just vote yes. So that in the bus, I mean, the gas is pretty negligible. The loop is very small, but it's a good question. It's a good question. And just so, full disclosure, I did talk to John. This bus is brand new and has great tires, but these vehicles do not do well in snow, ice, slush. So, because we used the old bus last time, and it had new tires. It had its issues, but it did have new tires. It didn't stop when it was supposed to stop in slush. So they have a plan B in case it has to go out of service. But are you using trolleys plus us?
We're using buses.
Good.
Yeah, but then we're using this shuttle or this bus.
Yeah.
And the Shepherd of the Bay bus.
Oh, good.
For the
Okay.
hotels.
Okay.
That's,
I mean, the trolleys are just prohibitive from a pricing standpoint, so. Anyway, that's about what it would cost.
So my reasoning is that there was a request for an additional $10,000 for the Historical Society this year. And because we were trying to have a 0% increase and we didn't have a lot to play with per se in the budget, I think we should bill them like we have in the past, because there were some things that maybe we could have done otherwise if we hadn't increased that. I'm very happy to increase it, and I think it was long overdue, don't get me wrong.
Denise, so that takes effect for next year. So in 2025, they're going to get that additional contribution. They still don't have that for 2024. They're still operating under that old $5,000 contribution. So maybe we do it for 24, knowing that in 25 they would get charged for that.
And where are we going to pull this from? Out of what in the budget?
I believe that there is still money in there because we got started so late on the bus. We didn't start using it as early as we thought we would.
So we'll come in under budget in terms of the bus, okay.
Where are we with the overall village budget in '24 versus the plan?
I don't have that number, Mike.
Because the projections we saw at 6 months looked like we were going to be over.
We did, I don't have that for you. We have to run a current report.
What if we did
The
this?
projections were supposed to be that we were not spending, our designated funds, I think we're going to be building up. We weren't spending everything in the budget, but the last projection we got. Oh, I mean, the entire village budget, is what I remember.
For designated or undesignated? Designated.
Well, whatever left over that we don't spend goes
Yeah.
into undesignated.
Okay.
From a philosophy of use standpoint, the bus is kind of there for Sister Bay extra busy times, right? Like in the summer when we're using it, we're not,
Right.
allocating it to specific events or anything that's going on.
No, it's public
And-
transportation.
and Chris Kindlemarn has certainly grown to where it has become a busy time.
Could we meet in the middle and maybe only cover either the hours or the gas?
Julie made a good point. If there's money in the budget, and I would have that caveat, if we didn't spend everything in the budget, that's fine with me. But that would have to be confirmed.
Denise, when you say the budget, which budget are you talking about?
The bus budget.
Bus budget.
So-
Because the bus, are they going to start running the bus as early as we thought it would? So there's that amount of hours or whatever that we.
They didn't use the gas and they didn't use the SG&A. They didn't use salaries.
So the motion would be to approve, provided the money is in the 2024 budget for that line item.
And, Ellie could do a projection really easily for you if you want.
Well, Ellie is pretty much done with it, so it's whatever, so we have the budget, we
Yep.
deduct what we've done so
Okay.
far, and whatever's left is
Yeah.
how much we can donate.
Yeah, okay, all right. Because I think she's got drivers, but again, I think they make a different hourly wage, I'm not sure.
One's 25 and one's 27, I think.
Okay. Yeah, the one with the CDL.
Or wait, I'm sorry, they're both 25 in 24.
Yep.
And this would be specific to the 24 season.
Yes.
This, yeah, 24
We'll review
season
it
only.
Next year. Is that a motion, or what are we doing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Oh, so, all in favor?
Aye.
God.
Okay, and then the next one was the sign codes, GE.
Yeah, so historical signs and QR codes. So, Julie,
Okay, so,
notes about that.
sure, so this is something we've, as you saw in the staff report, we've talked about before. And this would, we could start by, I just put together a list of places, a dozen places that I thought we could do, but basically they're historic sign, or they're signs at historic places or places with historic, of historic interest, that we could put signs with QR codes. I think we started out by talking about benches with QR codes. So whether it's signs or benches, the idea was to start using QR codes to highlight some of these historic places and draw attention to them, so people understand what they have and don't want to destroy it, value it. So I personally prefer the sign with the QR code over the bench, because signs don't get replaced, benches where you're constantly replacing or repairing. So from a maintenance and a long-term cost perspective, the sign is the better option.
So would the QR code be providing more than would be etched on the sign to begin with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like a photograph with a small amount of text. And it's effective in Bailey's Harbor. I see them all the time because I work over there, but I think people are attracted to a visual and would stop and look at an image, would stop and look at it and might read it. And then, if they're familiar with QR codes and know how to use them, first of all, I could take it to the village website, they would take it to the Historical Society website, which would help traffic on their website, so I think there's a great list of of historical locations that Julie's put together, but, I would defer to the Historical Society on, what, maybe we do this in phases, because this is not inexpensive, but on what, where they think is the most important and in what order. But it's really cool. I love the idea. And you wrote in here that maybe there's and she used Marge as an example. So there's a QR code that we put on Marge's bench, and then she can talk to you, which for me would be great.
Telling the story, that's one of the ideas
Well,
was.
she wasn't born here, Julie.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, I've
So
seen.
she doesn't know the early days.
But she can still give you good advice no matter what.
Yeah.
So you can sit down and she can just
So from a-
yell at you or give you good advice or something. That would be nice.
So aside from everything we talked about with this, from an ageism perspective, to try and get people to respect, appreciate the seniors in your community, that was one of the ideas I saw where you actually had senior storytellers telling part of the story on there.
And I would also engage and let Husby's, the Bowl, Roots, people like that know what we're doing, and they can, just let them know what we're doing, because I'm certain they'd want to get involved in some way, even though they're private businesses. I think that would be important for
Right,
them.
I think that's very, very important,
Uh-huh.
Just from what you just said on having a picture to draw somebody in and then using the QR code, maybe less text, but enough, great old picture of Emma, and I really like the metal
Yeah, it's very pretty.
plaques. They don't all have to be freestanding signs. Certainly on businesses, they can be on the business.
So I'm totally sold on this, but I have a couple of questions. So the Historical Society would have some oversight responsibility to make sure we truly are identifying a historical location and the story is authentic and accurate, or they'll indicate that it's not, but it's still historic? I don't know.
So we haven't gotten that far, Mike. So
Okay.
first of all, is this something we want to do?
Well, then before we go there, the second question is, have we looked at other communities, maybe Bailey's the example? I mean, does the village pay for all of this, or do we get the businesses to participate with, maybe a standard cost that we charge for having the signage produced? I'm curious.
So the way I would do it is if we agree to it, then staff researches the price or the costs of them, and then we see if it falls in line. We do have some tourism dollars we have not spent yet for this year to see if it's something that falls within our budget, and then start creating that policy. Maybe the private ones, I don't know, maybe there's a grant program you start where businesses get $500 towards the cost of a sign with a QR, to try and encourage them all to use the same manufacturer, the same
So they all have the
design,
same, absolutely,
and they're all going to the same place. I would hope we would engage the Historical Society, since, Denise, I know you know a lot about the history, but they're the experts in that, so I would think at that point we would then say, hey, can we form together a committee to look at these? What are the stories we're going to tell? What are the pictures we're going to use? It's not going to happen overnight, but, get started on it, get the budget, get the numbers going on it.
Yeah, it would be cool, because then you could do a path, so now you've got a path to find, and they're just, here's where it is, and this is where you can find it, and so that would be is that something that you guys, yes?
May we speak?
Of course.
I'm John Lejeski, and I'm the president of the Systematic Historical Society. And we're happy to partner with you on this initiative. I think what Bailey's Harbor has done is a classic example, and it's really very, very nicely done. I'm not sure you want to do the same thing. I mean, that's up to you. We're here to provide content for that.
Okay.
So all of the historic buildings that we have identified in the village, we have information on. And so if you choose to go to your QR code, we can provide the backup data, as much information or as little information as you want.
Sure.
But we're here to work with you on it because we think it's a great idea.
And to help identify spots. This looks like a good list that you put together, but there are a handful of others that you might be able to.
Yeah, I mean, you're the experts. In your opinion, what's your top 10? I mean, we work together on that because it'll be, I think, a rollout because of the expense involved. But it could, it can morph into some other pretty cool things, I think.
And then the other question would be, I don't know why, but if somebody owned a business and they didn't want to be identified, they have that option, correct? We're not
Yeah.
mandating this.
Yeah, this just talks right now, what I have in here are basically, with the exception of one of them, I think, is really just focusing on the public sites, because those are the ones we can control.
Okay.
And then opening it up. And I'll be honest with you, I think some of them would be very excited to partner and be part of that
I
program.
agree with you.
Absolutely, yeah. So next steps would include,
Next steps would be to make a motion to support the idea and start getting cost estimates on what a program would cost.
okay, so moved. And then, okay,
Do we need to vote?
all in favor?
Aye.
This whole procedural thing. Okay, so after we do that, we bring Historic Society in, or in the meantime, just for the sake of making things like, not like you don't have anything to do in the next month or so, but, after Chris Kindle and stuff, take a look at, your top 10, truly, like this would be, chances are you've got a lot of pictures of a lot of different things. And then maybe when we meet in January or something, we kind of look at that, and maybe by then we have an idea of, different prototypes for what would work. And
Yeah, would you create a subcommittee to go and investigate which areas you'd like to identify, and then see where we have information that coordinates with that?
I don't know about a subcommittee, but we'll, I think we start, I don't know if we need a subcommittee for that, do we?
Well, I think at some point in time, you may want a subcommittee, and I know it's another committee in the village.
That's why I hesitate, because we've got an awful lot.
But
Yeah.
I think if you want to do it right, it's going to take a lot of thought and effort. And even with all the information that the Historical Society has, you're going to, depending upon how lengthy you want something to be, I mean, you're going to have to pick and choose. You're going to have to edit very wisely. I mean, I think it's...
Well, those are people then that should be, experts that, I don't know if they're sitting here, maybe you would be, but certainly not me, or anybody, people that would look at it differently. And I think somebody
the
from...
direction of the plaque, the metal plaque with
Uh-huh.
the QR code. It's the QR code that contains the information, the extended information.
Yeah,
And so you decide how much or how little information you want on that QR code.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be as extensive as its own website.
Right.
Or just a snapshot.
see, to me, I think you try to leverage it so that organizations that you currently have get stronger. And so you leverage it for the Historical Society, and that's where it goes, and you guys get stronger, and people know about what you're doing, and I don't know. Yes?
I think we can, as we're talking about, also help identify the sites.
Yeah.
And even the text that goes
Right.
on the, whatever the item is,
Yeah.
beyond the QR code. Just like on the, what do you call the signs that, the signs that have historic information.
Yeah, historic sites and things, the brown and white ones.
The
Yeah.
one that's down by the veterans area, or was.
The historic markers?
Yeah.
Yep.
All that text, your point, Denise, I mean, somebody's got to help write that in a very
Yeah.
clear and cogent
Right,
fashion.
right.
And we can help with that.
So do you, on the website, I should know this and I don't, on the Historical Society's website, do you have a tab for historic sites in Sister Bay?
We do not.
Okay, so that could be something that's, might be an interesting thing to have, and then that's where we store this information, and then you create, a profile or just whatever it might be for this, so people can find things. And, and then eventually have a map that says, if you want to find these things, download this into your phone or something, and then here's the plaque, here's where you go.
See, I don't think everything, though, is truly going to fall under the category of historical. It could, Husby's filling station,
Yeah.
okay? Well, I think that was Alan Broad's gas station to begin with. I think he was the first one there. And
Emil Becker.
Emil Becker, thank you. Alan had it after?
Yeah.
Okay. And it just, and if you have pictures of the different people that owned it and how it changed throughout the years even, I mean, that is very historical or whatever, but some other places might not have that same feel, but it would, show the progression or the non-progression. I mean, Husby's looks relatively similar on the outside.
Except for that pretty wood facade. But, yeah. All right, so we'll figure it out. So let us maybe do the...
Yeah, so getting the approval today to move forward and getting the pricing and everything starts us rolling on this. So as we get that information, I'll just come back and stay in contact with the Historic Society.
After we get through Christmas? Okay.
So the other one with the Historic Society was the historic vacation sign. So the Parks crew has hung this, when it was taken down in the village, they've hung it up out at the cold storage building all this while. And Louise happened to see it when she was out there and thought, maybe this is something we can donate to the Historic Society. This does take committee approval. Make sure you don't want to put it somewhere else or do anything else with it. But this photo on page 36 is what we're talking about, basically.
Do they want it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think with some of the other historic signs in the barn, that maybe you don't want it in the barn, but this seems like that would be a great kind of centerpiece for the other signs in the barn.
Do you know the history of the sign?
No.
Good, because Jim told me one history, but I don't know if it's true.
So it was, I believe it was the Sister Bay Women's Club who raised the funds to build this sign and then put it up, at the intersection of Gateway and the highway.
Oh, okay, so it's where that banner is now.
Yeah, similar, but yes.
It looks like it's handmade.
I'm sure it was.
Well, when you're up close and personal, I love it. So,
I'll move to donate it to the historic.
Yeah, we'd love to have that as part of the collection.
great, be fun. Maybe you can fix the T.
Yes.
It's a little crazy glue or something. So,
I think part of that history that you guys tell, I think it's important to include that it has sat out at the cold storage building.
I think they're gonna need
The guys were very proud of it. I mean, it's been there for 20 years?
They probably need a
So-
lift to get up there.
So yeah, I'm sure somebody has to have a list somewhere of who was on Sister Bay Women's Club. I know Judy
There's a
Burns.
history, women's club history, I think, is in the files at the library.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Virginia Terhune, Judy Burns. That's all that I can think of right now.
well, you're
At least there's a
doing better than
motion
anybody else.
that we will vote on.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. So Eric has offered to, you're going to probably need a lift to get this down. So, before the snow flies, so.
And actually, that building gets moved next week, doesn't it, Eric?
I believe so, yeah.
So you might want to take it down before then,
That building's being moved.
just in case something happens. I think it's the 9th or something it moves.
So can we go back to the Chris Kimball Market? Because I know John's kind of shy.
Sure.
And what did he say? Thanks.
For sure.
Thanks for that. Thanks for
Oh, of
that.
course.
Thanks for the collaboration on the site.
Sure, of course.
Now we're back to C.
Okay, I think that's it for you guys. Thank you very much. And now we're back to item C. Item C would be Parking issues for North Spring Road at Fall Fest. I think it was Nancy Ackerley who asked us to take another look at North Spring
Yeah,
during
this
Fall
is-
Fest.
This has come up
Okay,
before you were on the board, Louise.
yeah,
And, I mean, there is parking and congestion almost no matter where you are on
Yeah.
the weekend of Fall Fest. And it's like, do you rope off every road? I mean, that, so I'm just saying that we did discuss that at one time earlier. And that was kind of the consensus that we had to choose what the best places were, what were emergency routes that we needed to keep open.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. Because I mean, we could go so many places with man hours and tie rods and rope.
so South Spring, we rode both sides?
No, just
Just the
east.
one? East?
Yep.
Okay, okay.
It takes us roughly 3 days to roll, 2 days to clean. So we're in it right now, 5 days with staff.
That's all the roads?
That's all what we do right now. That's everything.
Okay. Is South Spring as long as North Spring?
North Spring is longer.
That's a whole half mile. I think it's like
Yeah.
a quarter mile
It's
longer.
quite a distance.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
And every year we get more people asking, when are you coming down my road? So I'm sure, if North Spring has been brought up before, I'm sure more roads will come. If North Spring gets brought, improved on. It's all about how much staff time you want to dictate to it.
Right.
Do you rope off Birchwood?
Birchwood.
Birchwood, no.
I didn't think so. Not even on one side, right?
No, really, we just do, starting at Mill Road from EMS, both sides. We do both sides of Woodcrest. We started doing Sunset Drive around that S-turn there, starting at South Spring, going up to Woodcrest.
That's dangerous.
We do Autumn Court on our side around the sports complex. And we do both sides of Maple, starting at Claflin, and we also rope off Claflin. We started doing Gateway Park as well, because we were trying to keep them out of there.
And the original driver was so the fire equipment can get through safely all the time?
Yeah, so the emergency services have some kind of clear
Yeah.
route to get through, out of the village, basically, is what you're looking for.
Was this a special request from someone on North
Nancy
Street?
Ackerley was at
Yes.
the last meeting.
She lives on it?
Yeah. Have we ever had a request from the fire department for this?
I don't believe so.
Not since I've been here.
Okay. So could we take it under consideration?
Erin.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
I beg your pardon,
I just
Erin.
wanted to say, so we only got one call about any other parking on roads, and it was about North Spring. I have this information written down.
It was a resident on North Spring?
Yep, it was a resident on North Spring.
Okay,
And he called the week of Fall Fest, understanding it couldn't happen this year, but.
maybe next year.
We did have complaints last year that I remember forwarding to SBA, at least, there was one, I think.
For North Spring?
Yeah.
And just so I understand, is it a complaint that their driveway got blocked, or was there a specific problem?
The call that we got, he said people actually drove and parked on his lawn.
No, I totally, I mean, we had, on our street, we had one of the open houses for the flower, the designer, yeah, the garden walk. And, this house was pretty far down the street from us, and they pretty much parked on our lawn. It's not malicious, they just don't think, they don't look and say, hey, what? And also, I think one of the complaints too is if they're on both sides of the streets, it's very hard to maneuver your way down the street. If a car's coming this way and another one's coming that way, it's hard to get around. Can we take it under consideration, or are we just should we just cut to the cord and
I think
vote?
it's
It's not going to change between now and next Fall Fest.
if you start doing it for other reasons than emergency vehicles trying to get out of the village, it's going to have a snowball effect.
And every year we're gonna have to be dealing with more and more requests to close off.
You did it for them, why
So
don't
if
you do
we're
it for us?
basing it off of emergency routes, and we stick with that,
Well, it sounds
That's
like
our
from what Eric
fault.
said, they're kind of tapped, I mean, 3 days to set up and 2 days to tear down. That's a lot with the existing without adding more.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I mean, it does not mean that people cannot, put rope in their own,
And cones?
well, cones, people might just.
People will
run
run, yeah,
over,
our experience is
but
you gotta put about 12 cones on.
Yeah, could not do it themselves. If-
True.
It's tricky, I mean, and I've done that, but really, I mean, that's not your land on the first, how many feet, I mean, you know the rule, I mean,
Unless the village doesn't.
yeah, so yeah. Maybe we could get somebody, maybe I could donate some snow stakes and we could give them 2 or 3 of them out and anybody that wants to put them
I
on
think
there.
that, a little bit of a can of worms, but,
I know, I'm just,
well, I think we're all in agreement that at this point in time, it's not advisable to do it for the greater good and for the village. Am I correct?
yeah, I don't know that you have to have a motion though.
We can just say by consensus,
Is there
the,
something else, though, that we could
It could
do?
be done.
Like road closed, no through traffic?
Well, so at one point, then somebody asked for it to be one way, which is a nightmare. You can't do that. Road closed, no through traffic.
But I mean, the people that live down that road.
So like local traffic only. So if we put a sign up, signs,
I mean, I'm just
compliance
wondering
with
if
signs
there's other
has not been
options
great.
for,
Yeah.
instead of roping.
I mean, we all kind of live in the same situation.
Right,
It's
we're
just a
all-
couple days a year and it's not
Right.
that big a deal. People are having a lot of fun and they're pretty nice most of the time.
We could put, putting up signs, easy for me to say, doesn't take that much time. We have clear evidence people don't pay attention to signs. But
In my experience is, yeah, you can sign as much as you want, but as long as one person goes in there and bypasses the
That's
sign,
true. Yeah.
it only takes one. And a
And
clear
then it's
example
the-
of that is when they parked 2 years ago into the cemetery on Maple.
Yeah.
It only took one of them to go in there and then they packed it.
Yeah.
And that's the same reason why I do Gateway, that's the same reason why I rope off the sports complex now, because it only takes one of those guys to get onto the,
And
on
everybody
the snow hill.
follows.
right, then, well, that
And they
guy
all
did it.
go, they all do it, so.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I just don't think it's fair to ask the village employees to have to go any further than they already are. But,
Well, we will be seeing Nancy at some point or another at another meeting or, somewhere. And, I'm happy to talk to her and suggest maybe the neighbors try to do something themselves. I don't know. I don't like to put it on them, but. So we say we have consensus that at this time, we're unable to put up,
To honor that request.
to honor this request. Okay. Next up is crosswalk art, page 32.
okay, so this was, as it says in your packet, this was started, it was the last Parks Committee that we were talking about ways to slow traffic, and the thought was, one of the ideas was painted crosswalks, and then we can't put them on 42, so it would be on ours, and it was also just a way to add art, and the committee at the time really liked it. I did have a hard time finding someone for this, and this happened to be one, so I just dropped it, didn't have time to go back and revisit it. I commented on a friend's Facebook post about, he posted some crosswalk art, and I had said, hey, Sister Bay wanted to do this, we haven't been able to find an artist, and some lady's like, I do this. And so she reached out to me, very nice lady, she had the ideas that you see here in the packet. She sent some information about pricing, et cetera, but I wanted to start to just say, does this new committee still want to pursue this? And do we want to have her at a meeting to talk about designs and what she can offer and maybe what we'd be looking for?
Are we allowed to paint crosswalks on 42?
No, it'd
Just
just
our
be,
village.
just the village ones.
Okay, and did we talk about locations when it was discussed before, or wasn't specific?
We said downtown, I think it was just downtown, wasn't it?
I mean, it's not.
So like
mentioned
Maple?
On the highway, it's pretty limiting.
Maple Mill?
Whether we move forward on this or not kind of will depend on the answer to my question. I don't know if these designs that are in our packet are much wider than the crosswalk that we have now. Because I don't think, and something that goes kind of in and out squiggly across, I can see children then following something or whatever and not concentrating them in whatever that those dimensions are. Will it have the same impact if we use the dimensions that we currently have? And if it doesn't have the same impact, I don't know maybe if it would be worth it.
Well, I think she maybe was just being creative with, a curvy one possibly.
Yeah, she's just throwing ideas out there.
I mean, the last one, the orange, yellow, and turquoise one, is about the same dimension as what that crosswalk is.
Is our goal to add art to the community, or is our goal to get people to use the crosswalks and have cars stop?
Oh, and to make the crosswalks more visible, especially for the vehicles.
Yeah, it started as a visibility discussion, and then we talked about a lot of options for making them much more visible, and they were kind of industrial and not very...
Well, is there any science or data that the Department of Transportation has about crosswalk designs that are most effective? I mean, this is a well-studied area. I mean, I would think there's some data that tells us what kind of crosswalk markings work the best.
So we kind of went through all that last time, like it was, they have to be visible. They have to, clearly the painted, the ones that are maintained, the bright ones, a faded one obviously doesn't do the job.
The red ones jump out at you. I know that I see those better than...
And those are the only ones that we're allowed to paint anyway.
Yeah.
Can't use the other ones.
I would just check, if it's safety first, we should just check and see. Maybe there's some science that tells us use this color and you're going to get the best results, or use this technique and you'll get the best results.
Yeah, so the land, she had sent me some information about the different, like you can do paints and you can do vinyls and all this other stuff.
Who's the she? This is somebody from the Department of...
Nope, the artist.
Oh.
So,
I know her. She used to work at at the Miller.
and then, so I did reach out to a landscape engineer that I had talked to about this earlier, and he's getting me the information about like the paint that lasts the longest and about what that cost is.
Yeah.
Because, if it's something where you want to change the patterns more often, then you can do that, but I didn't think we'd want to be spending money on it every year.
There is a bunch of data on most effective crosswalk designs out there by states.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had spent quite a bit of time on the issue. I think it was last year. Maybe it might have even been the year before, I'm not sure. So this would be so the request is, do we still want to possibly do this? Bring the woman in, talk to her, tell her kind of what we're thinking, kind of brainstorm some ideas, and then she can create a design and bring it back to us, or...
I think it's worth a conversation just to hear from her directly.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. In the meantime, maybe we can do a little digging on because an artist, color-wise, can use whatever color. She would take some direction from us. And durability, to me, is the big thing, because you've got snow, you've got salt, you have snow removal, and then cars.
Yeah.
So what would be the most durable?
Is that consensus then?
Everybody, consensus on doing that?
Okay, it's all going to be timing schedules, holidays may not happen right away.
Okay.
The only thing I would ask is that we also look at some of this data that's out there, because there's a lot.
We can revisit that.
I mean, at one point, I think we
had
even-
some details on that when we were first talking.
I
about
remember
it, so you
that.
could probably-
There was.
You could probably find it again pretty
Because there was also some data, or I think you looked into lights on this.
Yeah, lights,
embedded.
visibility, color of the paint.
Yeah, embedded lights are, I mean, it's expensive, plus we just,
I think
Or
rather
you
than
wanna move
revisit,
off the
maybe
road.
I'll just send you, Mike, the staff report that we had
can
put
you
together
include me
last
so
time.
then?
Sure.
Because I remember that meeting, I was there. I don't remember the details, but,
Because that's, I mean, those crosswalks, that's a scary thing. I mean, that's where you worry about somebody getting hit.
well, some of them are, I think some of the tough things about crosswalks too are the parking spaces that are close to the.
Yeah.
They're where they're.
Yeah, that,
Well, they're where they're supposed to be, but they're close, especially if it's a large SUV or a truck or something.
Yep.
Somebody needs to pull out pretty far to be able to see what's
yeah.
coming from both directions.
That's why you're supposed to drive us around town in the bus.
Okay, well, I'm happy to do that. We can schedule a little tour.
Before there's snow. or
Yeah, before
otherwise
there's
we're
snow,
gonna have to
because
wait
it is
for
not
spring.
good in snow, that's true. Okay, we are now on to 5G, which is broadband engineering map.
All right, so you have the map in front of you. I have to ask you, are there any changes or concerns? I realize how difficult this is to understand and make changes, edits. However, I do have to bring it to the committee. This is not a plan that I can approve myself.
So I would like to comment on the poor response rates.
Yes.
Approximately 170 homeowners replied in half the condominiums. Their website and signing up when I did it
Yeah.
was a nightmare.
Well, and other communities would tell you the same thing, Denise, because I've asked two other
It is
communities.
horrible.
Yeah.
And then, I don't even know if it still went through, because then they sent me, I don't know how many different emails I got, all in a row, asking for something else, and I just washed my hands of it. So either I'm signed up or I'm not, and I don't care. And I even called the phone number.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, Insight's been good, but the Bertram process. You can't also discount the fact that we are a community that already has internet, we already have spectrum, we already have cable. And there are people that are like, why do I want to do this? Because, and Mike, you can probably speak to this, I don't know that they've been really clear on, if you have spectrum and you signed up with us, it will be blah, blah cheaper. Because I don't think they know.
Well, I mean, I read the material, I tested my download and upload speeds. There wasn't good data available about what they're promising with the fiber optics. They wanted you to make a commitment that if it was available, would you buy it? There was no hourly, or there was no monthly fee. So, you know, most communities, if they're going to install fiber optic, they got to earn your business. They've got to market and say, hey, look, if you want to do this, here's what it is. It's going to be $30 a month less than Spectrum. People will probably sign up for it like crazy.
I
But they
think
did have the prices on the website.
I didn't go to the website. I read the card they sent me to the house.
Okay.
And it's in the village contract, the max they can charge you and how long they have to lock that price in.
Right, I
For like
think
1
there's
year,
3
right?
No, it's like 5 years that they have to lock that
Okay.
price
How
in.
much
And
is the max?
how much was it?
Oh, you guys.
50, 70, and 90
Yeah, I knew 'cause it was-
for 300,
I was gonna say 30,
500
50.
and a gigabit or something. It was quite a bit cheaper than the.
because
other
Spectrum is
options.
now about $80
Because
a
I
month.
thought the business one was more expensive than what I'm currently.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
Oh,
the
I don't know, I
speeds
didn't
were
look at the business one.
way better.
Well, and they had like a 5-year history showing that they didn't ever increase prices and they didn't lease the equipment. So we had the breakdown of them versus Insight versus some of
Yep.
the others.
Yeah, so Denise, the sign up, We have, don't quote me, 980 households or businesses that have not signed up, not including condominiums. So what we're doing is, they are doing a mass mailer, and I said to them, maybe people are just throwing your postcards out. I said, let's do one on village letterhead and, make it look like it's coming from the village. It will be coming from the village, but they're paying for it and doing the work. And I edited that letter today to make sure it's very clear that, look, this isn't about signing up for service. Do you agree the drop at the end of the road, and do you want this to go up to your house? Because if you don't do it now, you're going to pay for it later if you change your mind. Your friend's talking about great speeds, and now you want it. Well, guess what? Now you're going to pay that full price. Versus right now, I don't want to say it's free because it's included in your taxes, but it's covered by the contract. So we're trying to get that message out. But yes, it has definitely delayed this project a little bit because right now there's not enough to do there's enough to do the project, but it's kind of senseless. We're spending all this money on, the few that signed up.
So it's $48 a month for 250, $70 for 500, and $100 for 1 gig.
Okay.
And then maybe there's something for business that, because I thought something with business, the highest one was 200, but I could be wrong.
That might have been insight, or...
Maybe.
Really, the only other option we have here is Spectrum. So the good news is you've got 2 competing companies at the end of the day, but...
Well, although a lot of the village doesn't have access to Spectrum.
That's true.
I didn't know that.
They don't, yeah.
Our reception at the admin office is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that's true. So that's not really a great excuse, is it? Yeah. I did ask, I asked Dave Elliott, I said, how did you guys get so many people to sign up? Because I'm thinking maybe we aren't doing something that they did, or something. But no, what they did is what basically, what we're doing, which is postcards, and it's on the website. So I think another push to do that.
So is the hard part the people who are, have a vacation home here and just getting in touch with them? Is that of the addresses we haven't gotten responses from?
I think the issue is they don't explain what the advantage to them is. They aren't differentiating
But they didn't
themselves.
anyplace else.
Pardon me?
They didn't anyplace else, except that we do have Spectrum.
But we have
Nobody
it.
else
So
does.
they have
Other
to.
people are using Starlink or something, but
They have to compete a little bit.
yeah.
If it's true, Julie, if this was not clear in anything that I read, and maybe I missed it, but what I just heard you guys say is for the $3 million we spent, if people sign up early, they get a guaranteed 5-year rate. That's half the price.
No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Okay.
That's guaranteed.
Yeah, regardless of when you sign up, you're going to get that rate, Mike. Do it now, do it next year, do it 2 years from now. That rate is locked in for 5 years, because we signed a contract to that effect. What this is, the thing that's going to cost them, so what they do is they put what they call a flower pot at the road.
Right.
And they run a fiber up to your house, and they put a little service box on there.
Yeah.
Which is free with Spectrum.
Which is free right now as part of our contract. And so if you do it now, it's covered by the contract. If you want them to come back later, they're going to have to charge you to do
Why?
that.
Because Spectrum doesn't. If they want to beat out Spectrum, they're going to have to compete for it.
I don't know if Spectrum...
Spectrum doesn't do that.
I just had them do it. It was free.
But
Are you a customer?
If
Yeah.
you're on the Spectrum route.
what I find...
Well, I wasn't. I
You're
built a
paying
new
for
house.
Yeah, you're paying for their service.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The same thing would happen with these guys.
Well, no, so you're paying for Spectrum service, so they came in and installed this. Would Spectrum put it there whether they were getting a contract or not?
No, but I wouldn't need it
Okay,
if they don't have a contract.
But that's what Bertram is doing. Bertram's saying, we're going to put that in regardless.
But why do we need them to do it if somebody doesn't want it?
Well, if they don't want to, they don't have to. Mike.
But what I'm saying, if we're going down every street here the way their plan is, and they go past my house, and 2 years from now, I decide I want it, either, I have to pay for it, or if they want my annual annuity contract, they're going to hook it up for free, because it's a very low cost to hook it up. They hire a subcontractor.
No, they're running it, they have all the equipment there, they just want your permission to hook it up for free now. Because if you don't give them permission to hook it up, they're not gonna.
I get it, but we're trying to figure out why people aren't signing up. My point is, nobody understands the advantage, and I'm not sure I do yet.
Yeah, so we had spent time on this up front. There were meetings, surveys, blah, blah, blah. I think maybe people forgot about it or they didn't pay attention.
But Julie, what I'm telling you is if you want Spectrum today, you can get it without paying anything to have them bring it to your house. They don't.
If they're running past you.
Not everywhere.
No. Well, yeah, if it's not in your street, you just can't get it.
Right.
So the advantage to people who have nothing is huge. Okay,
Right.
so we ought to be getting all of those people signed up lickety-split, right? That I get.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
And the other thing.
But how many people is that of our 1,200?
Julie, when I was trying to sign up, it was asking me what service, what package I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was something about it only comes to the outside of the house. And then I could pay to have them bring the wire inside the house. So, I mean, I, who have been involved since the beginning, didn't even understand exactly what it is they want from me.
Yeah, they want your permission to put
So I ended up hooking up only to the outside of the house, granting them that access, but it's like, who do I talk to? Do I need to have somebody come in and wire the house?
So Denise, what'll happen now? So now what'll happen is you gave permission, so they're going to put that on the outside. Then they're going to go through and they're going to offer you service, I would assume. And that's when they're going to come in and actually connect it up in your house. Because they're not going to connect it up.
In that form, it wasn't very clear. Then there was like a government thing that was talking about, it felt like a survey that they were going to use to try to get government grant dollars or something. It was a very confusing.
I would have to agree. It's not, I think my understanding is they're very good at what they do. But I think from the PR, the public relations side, as far as that website, not good. Because
you're right.
Where I live, we did everything, turned it in, and they forgot to ask for all the addresses on the website. So then they had to go back and redo it all because they had all these people say yes, they wanted it, and there was nothing because I'm like, this is weird, they don't want to know where I live. Well, Big Daddy, I'm like, maybe they know, just, maybe they can tell or whatever. And
God, that's hilarious.
So they ended up redoing it where you had to re-enter it with your address. So there is an issue there, undoubtedly.
So
our job here today is to say, do we agree with this map?
So can I just one last,
Sure.
What did we get for the $3 million? They're putting all of the lines into all of the streets, the main lines. They're going to do all of that.
They're putting conduit underground wherever you see red.
Okay.
And wherever you see green, they're dumping a flower pot.
All right. And what do we get? What do the residents of the village get in return for the $3 million? They get a discounted rate for X number of years?
They have the ability to now get high-speed internet regardless of where they live.
It's basically fiber to every address.
It's fiber to every home is what it is.
At market pricing. There's no discount. I thought we got a discount.
At the price that
The contract
charges. Yeah. Now, other companies can subcontract through the line and do other things, so you could get multiple options once the line's there, but Bertram had of the options we looked at, the best prices and the guarantee for.
Most people went with Bertram.
This also is free fiber optic for all public spaces. So all of our parks, all of our government buildings will not get the bills for internet. Not that that's a huge thing, but
No,
it adds up.
that is a key.
Well, I think they were putting in some connections for mobile cell towers to alleviate some of the issues like Fall Fest and stuff.
That would be,
We
I
did
mean, if we're
talk
doing
about that,
all of
but
this,
it
we
didn't go further,
be
Jerry.
communicating this because this is all good stuff.
Hey, Julie.
Jerry, we talked about, but that one didn't go. We didn't do that yet as part of this project.
Does the brochure talk about, if you don't sign up, what the cost per foot will be afterwards?
No, because I think it all depends when, if you do it 2 years from now or 10 years from now, that cost is gonna vary. So I don't think they put up a price on that.
Okay, do they have like a chart breakdown because I think if the public knows, if they don't sign up for this and it's on the brochure, it's like, oh man, look at like the money that I'm gonna waste if I don't respond to this, if it's going through to the village.
I say your
Write
taxes.
something and put it in the tax bills?
So that's gonna be too late. They
Why?
need to finish their engineering and get this thing going. We'll see how far they are.
No,
We
but I
did
want
put
people to sign up.
for service
Yeah.
or to actually the flower pot. See, this was all supposed to be done in July.
So I guess, are we trying to solve the problem with those who haven't responded yet, or do they think they've got that in hand?
We're working on
They're gonna figure it
that.
out.
I can see that if we still can by tax bill, Denise, we can. I think that's a good idea. But Jerry, you're right. We're not trying to solve that right now.
So right now, we're just trying to approve where they're running lines, and
Yep.
I'm not sure what options that we would even have to approve or not approve, because they're gonna run the lines to get to the addresses, so I'm not sure.
So then I'll just make that motion that we approve this map. Sure, looks good.
Yeah,
It's almost every road, so.
Yeah, that's the good news.
Is there some option that they're expecting from us, or is this more a formality of, hey, we're running it everywhere in the village?
So in other areas, for example, you have a committee, like where I live, and they blew this up and they took like a half mile at a time and they made sure that every single house showed up on this map because their policy was everyone with a developed property or had a permit to develop their property within the next 1 or 2 years received a dot. So they did that. So does this include every single developed property? I don't know. I don't think that's,
For any, it might not, there's a line running right next to it, so.
I mean, for our
Do
purposes,
you know why that they're not going all the way down Country Lane to the intersection of 57 and
So-
then part of Flint Ridge?
so that is one of my questions for them as why that little connection there isn't put through. But when you see some of these other ones where they're not going down, a lot of that is because they're private.
Did you say they're not going down Flint Ridge?
You'll see the line doesn't go all the way through, so I'm going to ask them about that, like that whole bottom part of the village.
Put them here, why don't they just trench it and throw it in? I mean, it makes no sense to me for the best that I can see. Everything else is covered of what is currently here.
Is it possible that those aren't main trunk lines and they're going to just access some of those properties with a light underground without conduit, without the orange conduit?
Maybe. I know that there was a project to get the the conduit to the village line.
Okay.
I think that's there, so I'm not sure about that. So that one I do have to ask them about, but a lot of these other ones, they're private roads or condo roads, and maybe they've said we don't want it to go down there, but
And these green dots are people that actually signed up for it already?
no, that's where they intend to put a flower pot if people agree to it.
And what is a flower pot, like a stem out of the ground?
No, it's just like the easiest way I can explain is it's kind of like a buried, they call them flower pot, it's a buried thing that goes in the ground, nothing sticks above the ground.
Okay.
Now, I will say this, they say that, but I know that you'll also see, every once in a while, you'll see like caution posts by them. Because I am one of the lucky ones who got it right in my front yard. And
Well, it
they
looks
tore
like
out
they're
2
putting
sage
them
bushes for it.
everywhere. They're putting those things
They
everywhere.
have to. So, like, where I live, I think it's like every 2 houses. Because you have your own line, you're not sharing it, like right now, what you have, you're sharing with others. This is your own Jerry, what's the right word for it?
Well, it's your own port off. In this case, I think the green dots are the houses they're serving.
It sure looks like it when you count them.
Yeah, and if you look at, like, I know my location pretty well, each of those dots is a specific house, and like Chris Heck's house is way off the road, and you can see his dot.
They're
So I
serving,
think the
meaning they
green
signed up
dots
for
are
it?
the addresses
No, no,
that
no.
signed
Oh,
up.
okay, yeah, because we're on here, but we haven't signed up.
Yeah, that, it's not that whether you signed up, again,
Oh,
it's where,
This
I
is
got
all
it.
the addresses.
Okay.
to make sure that you've gotten, to make sure they listed everybody
Yeah,
in
it
your
looks like they put all
community.
the addresses in and then ran the trunks to serve them all, and that's what this is.
So the end of Westwood, you know where Westwood or end of Forest Lane, those houses that are on the water, will they just take the end of, whatever's at the end of those two roads? Do you know where I mean, Julie? Right here.
So
All
there,
those houses on the water?
so that's a private road. They have to agree to it going down that private road, and if they don't, they cannot go down the road. So those people may not, if one person says no, they may not get that down there. Right now, it's showing me that that is not going down that road.
Well, okay, this is Westwood, and Westwood ends here, and there's two houses, the dead ends
Yep.
at the water, and there's two houses there. That's not a private road.
There must be something along here.
Oh, over there, okay, maybe. This is going down a different road, but right here, where there's that two-rod road, of course, that's private now, so that would be him.
Yeah, I know, again, from my own experience, we have a road, it's called Claire Lynn.
All right.
One guy held out,
Huh.
and so nobody could get it. They weren't going to, and he finally approved it this week, so now
Okay.
it'll go down there.
I mean, can we just give you, I know I made a motion, but there was never a second, I don't think. Can we just give you the authority to approve it after you ask the questions on why on Country Lane and Flint Ridge, they're just, while the equipment's here, why they're just not doing it?
Sure, how about, motion to approve it provided Julie feels comfortable with the map?
Well, hold on one second. So I'm just trying to understand this. If there are, after spending $3 million, anybody who wants to get it ought to be able to get it if you're a village resident. So my point would be, if we use village money to help to incubate this, we better be able to make sure that anybody who wants this service can get it. So if there's dots that are not being serviced for some reason, I think we need to understand why. Maybe call these people and say, hey, look, is it true that you don't want this? And I guess it's a little confusing because they haven't marketed very well. But the last thing I'd want to have happen is we get here, fiber optics in everywhere, and we've got 10 people complaining that they didn't run it to their house for some reason of inconvenience to the company we hired and paid.
They're running it to every house, Mike. The plan is to run, this map
And that's
shows-
in our contract,
Yeah. and
no
that-
matter how far the house is off the road.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
well, that answers my question then.
What's going to impact it is, so you'll see on these private roads here, they show that they're going to service them. The only way those people are not getting service is if they can't all agree to allow them down the road. Because they can't go down a private road unless everybody with an interest in that road allows them to do it.
So is that what our motion ends up becoming, is that you review it, make sure they're satisfying the needs of the contract, and that we move forward? Otherwise, I'm not sure what we really...
Yeah,
There was a
I like
motion-
that language.
Yeah, there's a motion by Denise to approve, provided Julie is satisfied it meets the needs of the contract.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Staff reports?
Just before we go off of this subject, what happens if they don't get enough people to sign up? What's their hurdle rate? They don't care? Okay.
They have to blast it and put it down every road?
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of
They
blasting.
with the contract.
Yep.
Okay.
What's the deadline? If they, well, it must have been extended, but what's the
These were
deadline?
supposed to be done in July. They were supposed to have them all done by July. They tried another one in August.
Yeah.
And now we're trying, I'm going to do emails to anyone I have an email address for. I went through the list of 900, whatever, and I have quite a few of the emails, so I'll be doing that, but we'll also be mailing everyone a letter on village letterhead.
So mailing only those that missed signing up already, or
Yes.
everybody?
Yeah, if you're already signed up, you're not going to get it.
Okay, and this would be to
Okay.
wherever they're
We'll
getting
know
their...
if we did it successfully if we don't get a letter.
I don't think you and Denise are on that list. There was, I forget who there was, and I'm like, wow. I'm surprised, it was a committee or a trustee member or something, and I was like, I'm surprised I haven't signed up.
Well, I looked at it, I haven't signed up for it. I mean, I tried, when it looked at it, but I don't think I'm signed up for it.
I can check.
Eric, did you sign up? Did you
Yeah,
sign
I got
up?
the confirmation email, so I'll be curious to know.
So the physical addresses we have, are the addresses we use for utilities or the addresses we use for property tax?
Well, I think that's
No,
part of the
property tax
I think
comes-
that's part of the problem. In summer, they sent it to every address.
No.
And so when I was talking to them, I'm like, no, I said, that's why you didn't have a response. I said, a lot of these people don't live here, so this letter will go to every tax address.
Tax address, good. Okay, great.
Well, and have you discussed with them how crappy their website is?
Not as, I was not as vocal as you guys have been here today.
Well, I assure you that other communities have been very vocal, so don't be
Yeah.
afraid.
I mean, I think that they just need to
You need to understand.
They're definitely not web designers.
be,
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
well,
Okay, so staff report, you have Eric's, you have mine. I'm going to jump to mine real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Baylor update, so Jeff Johnson took the tour of the Baylor in Minnesota. I heard from Jeff today, he said they will not be moving forward with the project.
did he say why?
Yes, the logistics, he said they'd have to have too much, they'd have to collect too much to make it work. And
This is the plastic bag.
his recommendation was we partner with someone where we, again, have to collect it, don't know where we're going to store it, and then transport it to wherever. So if we can find a place in, let's say, Appleton, we transport it down there ourselves.
That's
Tell me again why you can't do it. I'm sorry. It wasn't, he doesn't
He
have
didn't
enough
go
to-
into detail, he didn't go into detail, and he just basically said it wasn't going to work for them. So the place that he went to, I'm going to reach out to the Sunshine House, because the place that Jeff toured was a rehab facility. I don't know the right term. Like, everybody knows what Sunshine House is? Okay. So it was a facility like that. God, my mind is blank. But they do it down there. So I was like, well, what if Sunshine House did that here? That's a really good job for their people, and it's a way for them to make money, too.
Yeah.
So that's my next step is, after today's discussion, is to see if they would be willing to do something like that.
If you remember, at one of the previous meetings, I had some data as to how much plastic you'd have to have for this thing to break even, and it was a huge number.
Yeah.
Because if we're too small, could we-
I can understand why
Yeah.
we didn't want to do, the only way this works is if it's region-wide.
That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering, is if we partnered with, I know that that's not easy, but we partnered with other municipalities, or what does the county do?
The county doesn't do anything, and that's why we had talked about, at Green Tier, if I remember right, we had talked about all of Northern Door
Right.
partnering together to
Yep.
see if we could get enough of it.
But also the city, what does the city of Sturgeon Bay do?
Nothing.
So if the whole,
Everybody's putting it in the landfill. All of it, countywide.
At our last board meeting, did we talk to our rep, Boyd,
yep.
about it?
Not
Talked
this last
about-
one,
I
no.
thought we talked about Green Tier, but not that. I just listened to that.
We didn't talk to Voight about it, because originally, the very first meeting, we had said to him, we'd like to see the county take the initiative on something like this. And that's when Green Tier stepped in and got the assignment to research it. So I don't know, it's,
So then we need to reach back out to Patrick.
To him.
He is supposed to be showing up at November's meeting.
No, we haven't talked to Patrick.
Last meeting we did. He was there. Yeah, he was there.
well, I think,
We're
so.
not there, but on Zoom.
So I think you have to understand, this goes back to Green Tier. it came here because we were looking at a location for it. And I've been keeping you up to date on it, but it's really a green tier project. So we're going to hand it back to them, and they're going to have to keep working on it.
Well, maybe we should have Green Tier, a member of Green Tier, be at the next village board meeting because he's going to be there.
We have its chair.
Yeah, but they haven't done anything.
Of course we do,
They haven't done
sorry.
anything because we've been waiting for this tour for
No, I got
Jeff
you.
Johnson
Yeah,
to
sure,
take the
got
tour.
it. Okay, so that would be good.
So we'll keep you updated on that. Community garden, every once in a while I see community garden grants, and I know we had talked about one on Lagerquist. So just to let you know, I'd like to just start, if I see it, keep my eyes open for it and move forward on that if you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
So speaking of Lagerquist, I asked a few months back, and we talked about it, on Stan Tech doing a map on Lagerquist so we could start planning where more community gardens could go, where the dog park would eventually move, because we would have to start planting trees now,
Big
you
one.
know, in anticipation of this. So when do you think we might get, Stan Tech might get to that?
So in a staff report after that, Denise, I had indicated that I had asked him to hold off till we knew where the building was going, the admin building.
Okay.
So after, I mean, I think we can all agree that if the board takes action on that plan, that's a pretty good idea where the building's going to go. You know, I mean, I don't think there's going to be any
We're not putting it on.
big effort
CZ.
to move or anything like that. So then he can go back, I can work with him on that.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the biggest hurdle, is where is the building going?
Because that would be great in January or something.
Yeah, I also know right now he's finishing up our trails too, and he's pretty overwhelmed. And designing our sewer line to go over to the Parks building through the park. So he's pretty strapped right now, but we will. Parks maintenance facility, everybody saw we had the groundbreaking ceremony. You know, we have to tear down that blower building, ran into another issue, found some asbestos in there, so now that's something we have to deal with. But then the big thing I want to talk to you about is the Do Good Door County project. So they did the audit, which I thought was really interesting, and I thought it should become almost like the playbook on some of the what you need to do at the parks. Like when I read this, I'm like, this should be like their work plan.
Absolutely not.
No? Well, so what I'd like to do is just put this on.
Let's hear why she thinks this should be their plan.
I think you should. So this is to say, are your places accessible? Are not just accessible, but are they things the public is using? Why or why not? I mean, why do you have something if they're not using it? So to me, it was really good information. I mean, you know,
They love Waterfront.
they like Waterfront Park. I did not get the warm fuzzy on the sports complex, and I think there's some things there. You know, they're saying that the sports complex is not relaxed. Well, we've talked about like a sensory garden or a butterfly garden. We've talked about pavilions out there, things to help improve it. Maybe those are the conversations we have now that the facilities plan is done, and we kind of make a list of, yeah, this is what we need to do, this is kind of when we're going to do it. Because right now, we're kind of just winging what we do out there.
Well, I think also that there needs to be a discussion about what's the first and best use for the sports complex, right? So, I mean, it's usually very typically pretty family-oriented, active, you know, so we need to establish that criteria too.
I mean, lack of weather shelter, I think that's a huge one, you guys. You don't have weather shelters or big, like
There's
pavilion-type
the
things.
The
Yeah.
pavilion, right
Yeah.
there in the sports complex.
That's where you watch the
What are they
baseball
talking
games.
about?
Yeah.
I think maybe you might be referring to maybe the soccer field, or you may be referring to but otherwise, yeah, there's a huge pavilion.
Right, I think that there's bad information in here, and I'm like,
Well,
I
maybe-
presume that they walked the property,
could be
but
some-
there's some very obvious things.
What are they looking for?
They must have a different criteria.
Spaces, it's meant to be
Open, right. So the reason that I push back so heartily is because I think that we as a committee should go through their suggestions. Because if we did want to do everything in here, you know, a third of the sports complex would be paved for accessibility reasons.
It's interesting insights, but maybe
Right.
not a playbook to go.
So
Yeah, I mean,
think
they're not
that we
saying-
need to take it, you know, paragraph by paragraph, or however they break it down, and determine what our plan would be for our areas. And somehow then, I don't know if it would make sense if we'd even be allowed to do it, and have it kind of be an addendum to the outdoor rec plan.
So what I'm hearing is, yes, Julie, we do want this on the next month's agenda for discussion.
It says that they used the, hold on a second. The AARP worksheet. You know, and so that kind of paints everything with a pretty broad
Yes.
brush. So, I mean, I would understand, you know, because you can define a sports complex a lot of different ways, right? And then, but for us, I would say for the most part, it's utilitarian to the extent that we play soccer here, we play tennis here, our baseball team plays here, we take our dogs here. Do you know what I mean? It's not a park to that extent. You know, it's pretty.
Well, it's not labeled as part.
Right. And so it's hard to say what the
Good point.
criteria was for AAR. You know, so somewhere between them and us is, you know, what
The ARP guideline is public spaces. I mean, they could have went anywhere. They asked me, Julie,
True.
you get 2 places, where do you want them to go, where want us to go, you know?
Well, I think sports complex is probably a good one, you know, I mean,
Yeah, we don't have to do everything in here, but I think we need to have those conversations.
Right. And then we create our own document from their report.
I agree. All right, so that sounds like consensus? That sounds like consensus to bring
Well,
this?
I have one comment. I think before we do this, the other thing that would be helpful is just to chart out the usage. You know, on a Sunday when the Bays are at home, there's nothing else you're going to do up there. Maybe you can get a pickleball game going, but
pickleball's there every day, trust me.
yeah. So,
I'm at
but
the-
I'm just saying, we should know how the space is used today, and sometimes, you know, whether it's the Bays or it's another event, you can occupy that whole thing. There are shelters there. We should inventory how many shelters there. Those are new restrooms there. So there's a lot of investment
At
we've
the
made
sports
there.
complex?
Yes.
Not really, that new.
How old are those? They're less than 15 years old?
I don't know, the warming house?
Not the warming house. Oh yeah, I guess it is a warming house too. But it's not like we don't have any infrastructure there.
Oh,
We do.
for sure, but
Yeah.
And if you use it, I mean, I find it very inviting when I go to a Bays
They're
game, when we have ice, and you go to watch.
They're not saying it's terrible, they're just saying, this is what the people are saying. Do they feel it's relaxed?
people?
The people that were
people
they,
that are following the AARP audit,
But what about the people who live here?
they do live here.
Those people, those are locals that are participating in that?
they had a group of volunteers go out and actually rank and rate everything. And now they go back out in spring and they start interviewing the people. So the volunteers go out there and they
The
are.
volunteer, I'm just
Do
trying
good Door
to
County.
do good Door County. So those are Door County residents that come to Sister Bay and interview
Well, also
Sister,
they could live in Sister Bay.
or they could live
Yeah,
here,
most of them live
and they interview Sister Bay residents about the usability of the sports complex or other parks. That's what you're saying this audit came from, because I didn't know the background.
Yeah,
Did we ask for this?
So the audit is the volunteers go out there and they're ranking it, they're scoring it based on that ARP scorecard. And then the second phase is the volunteers go back out in spring and they start interviewing the people that are actually using the facilities.
But did we ask for this audit?
No, they contacted us and said, hey, we got money, I think it was from the Green Bay Packers, to audit 2 public facilities in every community. And which 2 would you like? And so we're like, well, where do most people go? Or the highest use is Waterfront Park and the sports complex. It didn't pay to send them out to like Pebble Beach or something.
Oh, gosh, no. But let me say this about Do Good Door County. They're very proactive.
Very good
They're
organization.
very proactive about advocating for and representing a cohort that could be an AARP, which now at this point runs from 55 to 112, but, and making sure that, looking at it through their eyes. So whether it's being able to walk someplace, whether it's being able to walk someplace if you're handicapped, or being able to visually see, that's their mission, that's what they're doing. So when you say, did we ask them to do this? This is not an organization that would necessarily say, hey, could we do this? This is somebody that would say, hey, we did this, and this is what we saw. So I do think, and I know some people that are involved in the organization, and I think that their mission and their hearts are in the right place. We may not happen to, agree with, how they define or, what they thought of the sports complex, but I think it's a worthy thing.
I can send you the ARP worksheet too if anyone's interested in it, because I have it, because they sent it to me. It's, and it's all ages. They're not just they're not auditing it for senior citizens, it's all ages, so.
I think this would be useful to provide insights. Some of the things we'll ignore, like the lighting in Waterfront Park. It's kind of poor by design, dark sky and everything, so.
But they didn't know that.
We go, thanks, but that's the way we want it.
But I think it's
there's
worth
other
it.
insights that are probably valuable that we can.
Yeah.
Did somebody forget to pay the bill because it's freezing in here?
But I also think that it's worthy for us to say, you know what, that was strategic. This is why we did it, because we have more people that want night sky lighting and more people that are concerned about lights than, and so however we did this, so there has to be
Might be a good
a
February
bit of a
agenda.
balance.
Yes.
Yeah,
after the first.
sure. Okay, and then you have the Eric's report in here in case there's any questions on that.
Maybe it just went up for an hour or so. On Eric's report?
Yeah.
No, you guys did an amazing job at Fall Fest. Thank you.
Great job at-
Excellent.
Thank you for preparing this up.
I appreciate that.
You did a great job. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
every year.
Well, let's give the SBAA a little credit for the weather and for smiling faces. And for a lot of, and for a lot of work on a lot of different stuff. So, and I know Ellie, who's not with us, she's on maternity again. And everybody knows Erin, I think, but said you guys did an amazing job.
Hey, Eric.
To the Parks Department at Fall Fest. You guys are great.
Yeah, and how did you like the setup for arts and crafts? Was that
I loved
better than
it.
usual?
It was better,
Okay.
yeah, because the llama guy was not enrolling.
Yeah, well, there's, when the llama guy is not in your way, which was a big problem 2 years ago, those
We get
llama.
David Hatch under control this year with his trailer and truck.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what about the snowmobile guys? They weren't too much of a problem?
No, not at all. Lions Club seemed to behave themselves, so I know
Well, that's
they were giving Ellie an
Walk around
earful,
for
but
the very first time.
I think they give Ellie and you an earful every year, so.
Oh, never. They're delightful.
Hey, Eric, on your report, two questions.
Sure.
So I see you got the permit for the driveway, the old driveway at, I'm assuming this is in front of the Marina View?
Yes.
Now, who pays for that? Does the village pay for that?
The village will be paying.
Okay. And then the other one is the DNR acknowledged receipt of the permit application for the repair on the swim dock, where we're replacing the seawall, correct? The steel panels?
So we are going to be putting a panel that has broken off back up.
Right.
And then also putting rocks against that current seawall that faces the north side, where that panel fell off.
The reason I'm asking is through experience, I know that if you replace it the way that it is, you don't typically need a permit. Is it the rocks that require the permit?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Because we didn't have rocks there before.
No.
Got it.
And just a reminder on that, everybody remembers, that is a very expensive project that was unbudgeted. So we do have to, we're not worried about costs on that, we just have to get that repaired for safety.
So who do you have bidding on that project?
That would be Somerset Marine. Doing that, I called,
My car. Soul
who's
company.
that other company? They came out, but they never got back to us.
Mike Carr's company?
My
My
car's
car's
old
sold.
company.
Yes, his old what about
It is
Hockers?
Somerset.
What about Hockers?
Somerset, which is the one
Hockers,
that bid
no.
on it.
You didn't get a quote from him, or you don't want to
No,
use
I
it?
never got a risk quote from Hockers.
Don't we have to get 3 quotes?
We try to get 3, but if they don't respond, we can't.
They didn't.
I could reach out to Hawkers, but I didn't know Hawkers could do that type of work, especially with the dock repair.
I don't think they can.
Yeah, they did. They did Rodney's, they did mine.
See, I was unaware of that, so I never reached
Yeah.
out to them.
Yeah, they put the steel plates in, like, they have, yeah. Especially if they can drive their equipment on the dock.
Well, right now, we're still trying to get the permit, so,
Yeah, and they can also help you with, those companies typically will help you with the permits. And the wall, you don't need a permit for.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because you're
Eric's
replacing
been
the
doing that.
existing footprint.
Well, is it too late?
Rodney Hadeen's dock's bigger than that dock,
Mike,
so.
it might be too late, because we've already kind of like, this Somerset's already been putting in the permits and everything like that, so.
Okay, if it is, it is. But I'm just saying, because those things vary widely in
Good to know
terms
for
of
future.
pricing.
I believe I reached out to 4 companies, like some of them were like, no, they don't do this, they just pull out docks type of thing. And then the one other company was like, he came out and looked at it and then he never got back.
See, I think Somerset is going to subcontract this whole thing. I don't know if they,
So what Somerset did is they actually hired all of
Cars?
his old crew.
Yeah.
So Curtis will be running the operation
Yeah.
up here, which makes me a lot more
he's
comfortable.
very expensive.
I will say this, at this
Very
point,
good.
He's very good though.
But Mike's still working there, no?
No.
at this point, you know, we have to take what we can get, right? Eric has been trying for 5 months, 6 months to get this thing.
It's been a while. Yeah.
And
Slow going.
this is as far as we got, because you couldn't get people to reply, and now we've got to deal with the permit issue on it. The goal is to just get this done right now before summer, before spring.
Are we
actually.
just replacing that bad section? How many linear feet is that?
I think it's just one panel. That one panel needs to be put back
It shouldn't
up.
be that expensive.
That one panel and then all the rocks that need to be put in.
Yeah, that's the, and we're making our own decision to put the rocks in because we
So
want to
we-
protect it in the future.
Out at long term, there is a pile of rocks that we're gonna utilize to cut on the cost.
There's a lot of rocks out there.
So we're gonna go ahead and use that.
So that's just hourly excavation then?
Right.
And they can bring their excavator right on that dock?
That's what Curtis informed me, yeah.
This
So
isn't
it's
gonna
not
be that expensive.
It's not gonna be barge work. I think the estimate that he shot me originally, it was Mike Carr who did it, was around $24,000.
Yeah,
That's expensive for us, Mike.
that's reasonable for that work.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad we're using those rocks.
I think that's
Things
a
are
big
freaking
savings.
huge.
That's a huge savings for
Yikes.
those rocks.
Where'd those come from? Doesn't make a difference. Okay. On to matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to a committee official or employee. So we are referring the admin office to the village board, correct?
Yep.
Future agenda would be parking issues, Peninsula Century Fall Challenge. Future agenda would probably be the signage for historic sign. The
QR
historic-
code.
QR codes, beg your pardon.
The mural art?
Mural art for the crosswalks. I don't know where we're going with the broadband engineering map. We've already done a consensus, so, and we have a plan to send out more, raise more awareness for signing up. Okay. Anything else?
And then just at some point, we'll revisit that Do Good Door County.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what I got.
Okay, I have the next meeting, regular meeting, December 2nd at 2:30 PM, probably at the firehouse unless there's a conflict. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Do you need a second?
Oh, I thought I heard a second.
I thought you said second.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I finally said what I'm supposed to say, and it's too early. Fine, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for